Assalamualaikum, good day to everyone. So we are from Good Night, consists of Sanjay, the unit Patricia, and me, Mirza. We are from UTM, from Faculty Chemical of Energy Engineering. So we will cover about chemical accident in South Africa. For the disclaimer, this video is for learning experience purpose and not meant for the industry practicing. We will cover about definition of HIRARC, general workflow, Victoria Guard, and HIRARC form. What is HIRARC? HIRARC, also known as Hazard Identification, Risk Assessment, and Risk Control. Hazard identification used to identify potential hazards from work equipment and so on. Risk assessment is where we properly analyze and prioritize the risk to decide the action need to be taken. Risk control is how we control the hazard. There are 4 ways to control hazard, which are control hazard at the source by the engineering control through pathway of the hazard, introduce the administrative control, and by providing personal protective equipment (PPE). So this is hierarchy of control. Start with the most effective to the least effective. We start with the elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and PPE.
Okay, now I'm going to explain about flowchart of HIRARC process. This is the flowchart of HIRARC process. First of all is classify work activities. Classify work activities in accordance with their similarity, such as first one is geographical or physical area within or outside premises. The second one is stages in production or services processes. The third one is not too big. Example, building a car. The fourth one is not too small. For example, fixing a nut. For the last one is defined tasks such as loading, packing, mixing, or fixing the door. So moving on to the next one is hazard identification. The purpose of hazard identification is to highlight the critical operation of tasks, that is, those tasks posing significant risk to the health and safety of employees, as well as highlighting those hazards pertaining to certain equipment due to energy sources, working conditions, or activities performed. Hazard can be divided into 3. First one is health hazard, the second one is safety hazard, the last one is environmental hazards. And when it is analyze and estimate risk, it can be divided into 3 parts. First is likelihood of an occurrence. This value is based on the likelihood of an event occurring. You may ask the question, how many times has this event happened in the past? Second one is severity of the hazard. Severity are based upon an increasing level of severity to an individual's health, the environment, or to the property. The last one is risk assessment. Risk can be presented in a variety of ways to communicate the result of analysis to make a decision on risk control. This is the example of the risk analyzing. Moving on to the control. Control is the elimination or inactivation of hazard in a manner such that hazard does not pose risk to workers who have to enter into an area or work equipment in the course of scheduled work. There are 4 types of control. The first one is at the source of the hazard. It is elimination or substitution. The second one is engineering control. Third one is administrative controls. The last one is personal protective equipment. Moving on to the documentation of HIRARC. Responsibility, accountability. The individual or team who identify the hazard must ensure proper communication of the hazard to the appropriate workplace authority such as manager, department head, or designated person. Each HIRARC must be fully documented. The HIRARC form must be completely by the HIRARC team and signed by in charge personnel of the area.
For consultation in the practicing abilities is to seek reviews and in decision making and appropriate involvement of staff in the hazard identification and risk analysis development and the review of the OHS policies and objectives. If practicable, there must be consultation with the relevant health and safety staff or representatives when identifying, assessing, and controlling the risk by consulting directly with the employees and drawing from the insight that for the training, employees are expected to follow health and safety procedures and use risk controls set in place for their protection. They must be familiar with the regulation associated with the hazard and consult with the health and safety representative, managers, supervisors, and others who may be required to perform risk assessment that must be trained in hazard identification, risk assessment, and control methods. Example of UTM HIRARC form. First, School of Chemical Engineering UTM. The introduction of HIRARC form must include the name of the company, the process or location, approved by whom, and the date it is conducted, and by whom it is conducted. So, a complete HIRARC form consists of stated the specific hazard identification, risk analysis, and risk control. The risk calculated is 20, and the risk control recommended is and control measure